Thank you for joining us. I'm Kathy Snyder, and I'm Director of the Midland Area Wellbeing Coalition. We are here today to chat with you about the coalition and the work that we do in the community. Our goal is that Midland can be a thriving community where everyone feels good, struggles well, and functions effectively. We know that well-being is a journey for people, and that journey looks different depending on who you are, how old you are, what your family's like, what your friends are like, what your network's like, what your work is like, all sorts of different places that people come from in a society. So we're here today, and we're going to be talking about the coalition mainly through the lens of three people that worked with the coalition in various ways. And I'll be asking some questions. We'll just have a conversation back and forth to share with you the work that we do. We hope that you will join us in the Wellbeing Coalition. We are a coalition of 220 people who represent over 90 organizations in our community, and they are doing work to support others because we know that at the end of the day, life isn't about just being happy, it's about being able to struggle through life's challenges, to thrive when we can and struggle well when we need to. So let's get started with Erin. Erin, what does well-being mean to you, and why is it important?
Well-being means to me just being able to, as you stated, just kind of thrive well. And then also sometimes we know that life has challenges that we have no control over. And so well-being helps us to be able to kind of struggle well through those different nuances of life, right? And I know a lot of times when you talk about well-being, people think that it's just a physical thing, right? Making sure you run or eat healthy, eat oatmeal in the morning or whatever it is, right? But it's so much deeper than that. A lot of times, well-being is also mental. It is also physical, but it's also emotional and just how we treat others as well. So that's what well-being means to me, is just taking care of those different aspects of us and different parts of us so that we are well, and then we can also be well for others.
Yes, so it goes beyond you, right?
Yes.
So then what are some small practical steps that people can take to take care of their well-being?
So I'm going to give an example of myself, right? Okay. What I started doing for my well-being, and I light a candle in the morning. And because a lot of times when we talk about well-being, people think it has to be these like big elaborate things that we have to do, right?
Big life changes.
Yes, and well-being is so simple in a lot of different ways, right? So for me, I light a candle, and what that does, it kind of mirrors what I want my day to look like, right? Candles to me represent a reflection and peacefulness, tranquility, right? So when I light that white candle, it kind of sets the precedent for the day that I want this to be a peaceful, tranquil day. Now, is it always that? No. Because other people are involved in my life, right? And I'm involved in my life, right? So sometimes I don't always make the best choices, and neither do others in that type of scope. So what I do is I light that candle, I set that precedent, and then hopefully it sets me on the path that I want to see for the day. So it's about intentions. So that's something I do for my well-being. And then for other people, it could be just brushing our teeth, right? It's really small things that we can do to kind of start our day right, where, okay, I want to take care of myself, health, be kind to others, for brushing my teeth, right? And so it's a lot of different things that people can do to practice some small different things to kind of have well-being in their life.
Yeah, because what I hear you saying then with your simple practice in the morning of lighting a candle is it's meaningful to you.
Yes.
And it helps set up your intentions for the day so you can accomplish more.
Yeah.
And maybe even puts you in a frame of mind, like you said, where then you're able to go out and show up more for people the way that you want to show up for them, right?
In a peaceful way, right? And just kind of be at peace and calm, right? Because sometimes some people start their day really chaotic, right? And sometimes you can't help it. If you have small children, one child could be sick, and you had a plan of everything going smooth, and then they get sick, and that just kind of changes everything. So even in that instance, that's when we also can practice some well-being kind of life hacks, right? Where we can say, okay, you know what? I was not planning for this, but what can I do to make sure that I still kind of struggle well through this, right? And navigate through this new journey that I was not anticipating.
Yeah. And we do talk about that a lot. We talk about having a toolbox, right? There's lots of wisdom, there's lots of science, there's lots of practices around well-being and how we can build it. And having that toolkit, just like I feel like it's kind of like why we do fire drills when we're in school, right?
Yeah,
We never
yeah.
know when we're going to need something. Or why you have a full toolbox in your garage, because you don't need a hammer for every job. Like
Yeah.
lighting a candle isn't going to help you in every situation.
Exactly.
Right? And so having a toolbox that's well equipped with things that you can pull on then in times of struggle and in times of joy, to hang on to
Yes.
that joy longer.
Yes.
Right? And things like
Yes.
that are what we do
And
in
be
the
present
coalition.
in that
And being
joy, right?
present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So building that toolbox as individuals then is really important. And
Yeah.
again, like you said, some of it is very simple little things, but some things you can maybe learn, skills and things
Sure.
like that we do in the coalition.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about that? What are some of the things, ways that people can build their toolbox through working with the coalition?
Sure, life hacks, right? I mean, and what that is essentially is just kind of giving people some tools to say, you know what, this happened and this is what I did throughout, in my life when it happened. Maybe you can use this too. Maybe this would be helpful for you. We have Power Half Hour, which helps to give some motivation. We have quotes to live by. And then also we have the Midland Wellbeing Certificate, right? That people can utilize to be able to not only for their own well-being, but also community, right? To build community, networking, and just, I think that a lot of times we think we're the only person struggling through this particular thing. And although everybody's struggles look different, we all are struggling at some point in time, right? So when you build that community part of your life and be able to take the certificate and know more people and just kind of get some some tools and some advice from them, it's a beautiful thing. I really, really, really encourage people to take that. And then also check out our website where we have a lot of resources as well for people to get. So small things like that just really help build us and help us kind of grow our well-being a little bit better.
And I think that community part of it, to me, I feel like is a really powerful piece of the well-being work when
Yeah.
you can develop that common language with someone
Yes.
that you understand each other better, you can connect on a different level maybe than just as, people walking down the street or in a work environment, that you can connect on a different level.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I love that. So I know you already shared one example of how a well-being practice has helped you.
Yeah.
Any other practices, maybe in the work that you've done in outreach, that you could share that you found impactful or that someone else found meaningful for them or for others?
Sure. I remember a lady told me, and she took the course, and she's been practicing a lot of well-being, different life hacks and different things. And what she did was she started going for a walk in the morning, right? Even in the cold, and we just talked about that. I really applaud people who go out in the cold for anything, quite honestly. But she started going for a walk in the morning. And what I loved about it is that her neighbor would see her go out for this walk. And while she's practicing her own personal well-being, the neighbor said to her, I want to go on the walk with you because I've been looking for someone to walk with, but I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know how to get this started. And so now they have about 5 women that go out in the morning, right, and take these walks. So I think that's how, I just love that story because it sounds so small to some people, and some people walk every day, and it's like no big deal, but they were able to build community and also kind of see some, physical changes, right, as they start to get healthier. And so I thought that was a beautiful way, just kind of like a small thing to kind of give an example of how we can practice well-being for ourselves and how it can ripple out to others. So I just always kind of hold that with me. And I said, oh, wow. And they invited me. I said, no, thank you. I don't want to do that part of it. Not in the cold. I'll meet you all in the spring when it gets warm. But
Come warm your hands on my candle.
yes. I would light the candle, and you guys go ahead out in the wintertime. So.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very simple things can have such a ripple effect. Like
Yes,
you said,
impact,
just her
yeah.
taking that personal decision to take a walk now is turned into a network in a community.
And people saw it, right?
Yeah.
She didn't go out and kind of say, hey, come walk with me. She just was doing it. And people saw it and said, oh, she looks better. She looks happy. I've been wanting to do it, right? And so, yeah.
Well, I think what's cool about that, too, is it illustrates to me that it's different for everyone.
Sure.
Because when you said that, I was thinking, I know someone else who did the same thing, except she doesn't want to walk with anybody. She wants it to be her own personal time so she can do personal reflection.
Sure.
And her family members wanted to walk with her, and she says, not for the first X amount of time. That's my time. I need to take time for me, and then sure, you can join me after that.
Sure.
So even the same tool can look different for everyone.
It can. That's the beauty
Right?
of well-being. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. So one of the things that we know is that we do a lot of work in the community, as you said, that we work with individuals in a variety of different ways. We also, though, know that if we're going to scale the work that we do and to impact even more people, a workplace is where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because everyone is impacted by a workplace. Either they're in one or they are a customer or a patron, or everyone interacts with someone that's at least in a workplace.
Sure.
So we feel like the healthier we can make workplaces, then that also has ripple effects down to the individuals, up to the broader community, throughout the organization, all sorts of different impact levels. So now we're going to talk to Ashley, and Ashley's going to talk to us about some workplace things. So Ashley, how does workplace well-being impact employee productivity and job satisfaction, their well-being, basically?
Well, what we found is that when you focus on well-being of the employee, it directly affects in a positive manner, not only the individual's well-being, as we were just talking about, but it affects their productivity and their job satisfaction. So everything really just rises together when that employee feels that their individual their mental health, their physical health, their emotional health is supported by their employer. They have the ability to really just relax into their job. They have more focus at that point. They're more willing to collaborate with others and reach broader, move things forward. So therefore, again, they're more productive. They create an environment that is kind of like a well-being environment, like everybody's, and again, like you said earlier, it's not just about everybody being happy. It's about really, the innate thing about focusing on well-being is that it naturally helps to reduce stress. It helps to improve work-life balance, and when you do that for an employee, they start to shine, and they have that ability to just do their job better.
And to that point around happiness, it doesn't mean that we're never going to have conflict in a workplace, or we're never going to have challenges in a workplace, but it might be able to impact how we work together through those conflicts and challenges,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So what are some of the tools that the Wellbeing Coalition can offer to support workplaces?
Oh my gosh, we have a wide variety of things that we can do to support workplaces as the coalition, and really wherever the organization is on the continuum, whether they haven't really started to yet have a good well-being practice in place, to an employer that potentially has something that is really going well, we have a lot of different services that we can help to support the workplace, the organization with. One of them is just a simple survey. It's having the employees take a survey to see where do we start, or where can we up level or take our well-being program to the next level. Another great thing that we have are the workplace ambassadors, and this is an individual who is maybe a little bit more passionate about well-being than their coworkers could be, but they definitely want to help move the needle in their organization to improve the well-being culture there. And so the really great thing is that we were talking about tools. The ambassador gets these great tools. It's a tool kit that actually has science-based tools to help improve workplace well-being. That's what they're specifically created for. And then the ambassador has the connection to us as the coalition, who helps them to really figure out how to not only use the tool, but potentially make the tweaks. We talked about individuals making tweaks to the same life hack. Well, when you can use the same tool in a different way, because a small organization of 5 might use one tool a certain way, but then when you've got an organization that's got like thousands of people, they might have to tweak that tool or at least implement it in a slightly different fashion. But the beautiful thing is that tool is so grounded in science to promote well-being that even the littlest tweak isn't changing its effectiveness. Right. One of the other things that I also think is a great thing is our partner program. And this is truly a collaborative effort between the coalition and the organization to really find basically what the organization needs. Do they need to start, like I said, a well-being practice or program, or do they need to tweak things because, I don't know, the simple thing of their population of workers, the age range has changed, and they want to really acknowledge that and support them. And so that's where that partnership program comes together. It's truly a collaborative effort from the coalition with the organization.
And I think that that's really important too, because especially since COVID, I feel like conversation around mental health has been elevated for very good reason. Because we want to be able to support people that are really struggling.
Yes.
And we want to be able to have those conversations and point people to resources that are going to be really helpful to them. The science of well-being and the work that we do in the Wellbeing Coalition is foundational under that.
Right.
And so just because we're not sick doesn't mean we're well, right?
Correct.
It just means we're not sick. And so this science of well-being is helping us as individuals, as we talked about with Erin, as workers in a workplace, to be able to show up better in the world the way that we want to, and do more and accomplish more and have better relationships and feel better about things, right? And really to craft a life for ourselves that's really worth living and worth living well.
Correct.
So that being said, I think it's awesome that workplaces have turned that lens onto mental health in the workplace. I think that's really important. And well-being. So the question though is, like, why would they care? I mean, besides the human part of it, right? Like, what's the benefit to an organization to prioritize well-being?
Well, to put it simply, the bottom line, when you have employees who feel that their well-being is supported, all aspects of it, you're reducing stress, you're, again, helping to improve that work-life balance. So then you have an employee that might actually be a little excited to be at work. And again, we're not talking that everything's perfect, but they're going to be a little bit more productive. So I like the analogy of, if you have a company that has like a product, if you have a marketing department that feels scared that they can't be creative or try something new, you might not have great innovative marketing for that product, so then that product might not sell the way you want it to. Yet if that marketing department feels supported and feel like they can take a risk and they know that they're not going to be ridiculed for it, they might be really creative, and before you know it, they're doubling the sales of that company just in a blink of an eye, because somebody's like, what if we did this, right? And that inspiration comes from a space that has a well-being culture that everybody feels supported in. And the same thing can happen when you're in a customer service organization, where as an employee that if you might have to deal with somebody that's kind of not in a great mood or isn't feeling well, and that you have the support of your manager, their manager, and even like the head honcho to help you figure out how to navigate that communication. I mean, if you think of in a healthcare setting, if the patient walks away from whatever unfortunate thing took them to the health system and saying, every person I met was so nice and was so kind, and I knew they were busy, and I knew me being there wasn't really helping them out, yet they took the time to take care of me. Like, hands down, they share that story, people are going to be knocking on your door to be like, I want to come here if I need it. And so it affects the bottom line hugely.
Well, and what you're really emphasizing is creating a culture of care, which is helpful to the individual, it's helpful to the organization, it's helpful for the patrons of the organization, and even the broader community. There's one woman who was that we worked with that's in our coalition that was taking over an organization, and she was walking into an organization that felt like that fear thing that you talked about with the marketing, and she said it really felt like, she called it a gotcha culture, like don't make a mistake, because. And she wanted to turn it into a growth culture. Like, how can we be safe to learn and grow together in this organization? And the organization is thriving. She was so intentional about crafting that culture and living it, not just saying it, but living it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's huge. Yeah.
So are there any examples that you wanted to share about the workplace well-being work that we've been doing?
Yeah, there's so many good examples to share, quite honestly, but the ones that really stick out are when some of the ambassadors have taken some of the tools to help improve, like the flow of a meeting or being productive in a meeting. The one in particular that stands out, it's Take 10 for well-being, and it's rooted in science, like we talked about earlier, in a PERMA framework, and that means I liken it to like icebreakers on steroids.
Yeah. All right.
because it's so rooted in science that you can't really go wrong picking one of the questions or one of the activities. And how one of the ways you can use it is to start your meeting that way, right? Where you're like, here, we're going to ask this question. We're going to see how everybody's doing. And what a lot of the ambassadors have started to notice is that people are actually speaking up more in meetings. Where it used to be a really quiet meeting, now they're actually actively engaging. Like they don't have to specifically ask individuals to share. Those individuals are sharing now because each meeting starts with one of these just fun kind of interactive take 10s that then allows it to just, again, create another layer of that level of caring, and you're walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Well, and okay, I'm the director of the Wellbeing Coalition. I can tell you sometimes when I get in a meeting and there's icebreakers, the very first thought I have in my head is, really? Another icebreaker?
Right.
But then I do it and I learn things about the people, and that's really what you're getting to. You learn about the humanness that you see right next to you here, and across the table, which makes conversations easier then,
and you
right?
feel better.
And you feel better.
Well, and you're making that connection. It somewhat breaks the barrier of this, I'm just in my silo.
Right.
I'm here to do the work that I'm supposed to do and maybe help occasionally. And when you start to break down that wall, it creates a relationship, again, that allows, in a team environment, the team to work better. Even if it's just sending emails, right? It can be hugely impactful.
So it's not just about doing social events. It's really about how we work together. We can improve, right?
I mean, culture, right?
Yeah, the culture, and maybe it's social events too, right? But that's not the only thing.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's just one. I mean, just listening to the ambassadors that have used that tool and a few other tools to just a little tiny change to how they run their meetings. That has just, again, it's just had a huge ripple effect throughout that group, then therefore the organization itself.
Sure. And you mentioned the PERMA framework, which we didn't address yet. So I want to do that before we move on to Gary. So the PERMA, one of the things we know is that people say, I want to improve my well-being.
Yes.
And that can be a very overwhelming feeling and also vague, like how do I even do that, right? And so you might look to what your neighbors are doing. You might look to the self-help, at the bookstore. You might do all sorts of things. But the PERMA framework was put forth by Martin Seligman, who founded the field of positive psychology, which is a science of thriving. And he determined that there's really 6 components that go into our well-being. And what's cool is then they serve as levers that you can move in different ways depending on where you are in life. And so PERMA is an acronym that stands for positive emotions. And interestingly, though, it's not just about that, because we know that life is real and that uncomfortable emotions are part of it.
I was just going to say up and down the world.
All over.
So how do we navigate those? When we can navigate our uncomfortable emotions in a direction that moves us forward in the world, then those in a way can become positive. Like I just heard yesterday someone talking about grief, and grief being like love that just doesn't go away, right? And that's such an interesting reframe of that word grief, right? Because we feel like we should be done with that. Like, why am I still grieving? Well, I'm still loving, right? And that's going to change and that's going to morph, but I really like that terminology. So the P is positive emotions. The E is engagement. How do we engage in the world around us, with our family, with our friends, with the activities we choose to do? How do we use our strengths in those spaces? That's the engagement piece. R is relationships. Yes, not just about having as many as possible, but the quality of those relationships and the depth of those relationships. And then the M is for meaning. So meaning, purpose, values. What do you value in this world, and how does that direct then how you show up and what you choose to show up to? And then the A is accomplishment, and accomplishing what matters to you. Doesn't have to be the awards. It doesn't have to be the grand, big accomplishments. Even the tiny accomplishments, like you talked about earlier, can be celebrated. And that reminds me of a story. I worked with someone that was formerly in the military, who the big accomplishments were really part of her life, and that was what mattered. And for her to learn that she can celebrate small accomplishments without the expectation of the huge thing, it was game-changing for her to be able to celebrate that, I took a step today toward my goal, or even I just decided to do this and this little thing, and that's okay.
I made my bed.
I was just going to say that. I made my bed this morning, right?
Yes.
That's a big thing.
Yes. So accomplishment, again, means something different to everyone. And then the last letter is the H, and that's health, right? How do we move? How do we eat? How do we sleep effectively? How do we restore ourselves? You talked about
Yeah.
stress
Yep.
earlier. So how do we restore ourselves in those times of stress
Yeah.
or exhaustion or whatever it is? So that's the PERMA framework, and
Yep.
we use that throughout our work. We use it with individuals, we use it with workplaces, and also even we share this on a broader community level, which takes us to Gary. So Gary,
Yes, it does.
how do local collaborations and partnerships strengthen well-being efforts in a community?
Well, I think I base it on, I think we've all heard where this saying where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, or it takes a village. That's exactly what this is about. It's about not only what we're doing individually, but what we do with others and how we bring the strengths of a variety of organizations to the table. You talk about PERMA. Well, when we do this, when we're working with other organizations, I look at it as holistic health. Where we're talking about physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual, all those areas are so related. And any one organization cannot bring it all to the table, but when you're collaborating, it makes it so much more effective. And so we're so much more able to do that in working with people. Then there's obviously the resource sharing. A lot of nonprofits groups are involved in this, so you've got people limitations, you've got money, and so on and so forth, and timing. So when you're working on this with other folks, it brings that, it increases the opportunity to share resources and make a bigger impact or a larger impact in the community. And that, again, is also increased reach. So, we've got ways of promoting and sharing what we're doing, but everyone also has their ways. And so you're out there in a variety of ways to get people understanding what we bring to the table and what well-being is all about. And I'd say innovative solutions. Again, we all bring something to the table that's a little different. So when we're coming at it from different perspectives, and that's also critical, the different perspectives from a variety of folks in a variety of situations in life, I think are so important because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reach everybody. But I think that's what I would say in terms of strengthening the holistic approach.
Well, and every community has their challenges, right? And one of the things that we found with a coalition of 220 people throughout our county that all come from different sectors, different levels, different places, different lengths of time in our community.
Yeah.
When we all speak a common language of well-being and we have developed some tools and skills for how to work with ourselves, how to work with others, then we can get to that place, kind of like what you were talking about with the workplace, where we can have better innovative solutions for some of the really big challenges in our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It can happen easily.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. So the next question is about some community initiatives or programs that support well-being on a larger scale.
Well, I think we're, I would say, blessed and fortunate as well to be in a community that has so many organizations that are involved in supporting our well-being. United Way, goodness, that comes off the top of my head, of course. The agencies in the United Way do such a great job, and obviously they affect a lot of people. The Rock for Youth Development is another one that comes to mind. It's pretty amazing. And again, they can reach so many folks. We've got coalitions in town, Mental Health Coalition, the Cultural Awareness Coalition. So we've got groups of people in a variety of settings, whether it's in government or education or health or whatever it may be, all engaged in trying to come up with solutions to help people in these various areas. And again, so that's a large impact. I'd also say there's a few organizations that I find very helpful. One is called the Interagency Network, and this is a collaborative, a coalition, if you will, of well over 100 organizations from a variety of areas. They get together on a monthly basis, and they share what's going on. They share what's happening in their organizations, also asking how we can engage at the same time. So the reach is, you can imagine the reach of 100 organizations and their constituents is fantastic. And another one is called the Faith-Based Community Assistance Network. Again, similar in many ways, a little more grounded in the spirituality of the faith-based efforts going on, but not solely. And again, the same thing, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of events, a lot of activities, and we can identify opportunities to support or to engage or to help people in those ways. And I guess those two agencies really to me, are two of the ones that affect the what we call the ALICE population, which is a folks that ALICE stands for assisted living.
Asset limited, income constrained,
limited.
employed.
There we go.
Yes, right? Yeah.
They know this. We don't know this. Anyway, I think it's so essential to have that opportunity to really affect that group of folks, and it really hits home for us because we're really about also equity of how we can provide these services to all kind of folks through all areas.
Well, and I think what's important about that too, and hearing some of the different organizations that you mentioned, is we're not the only ones doing well-being in this community.
Not at all.
There's dozens of aligned organizations. Aaron, your organization is very aligned with the Wellbeing Coalition, right? With your Breaking Bread Village and creating those spaces for conversation in really authentic ways.
For us to learn each other more, right? And hear from each other, understand each other, empathy, compassion, all those things,
about things that matter.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so I think that's the beauty of this community too, that we have so many people that care in so many different ways.
Absolutely.
And I can tell you that prior to me directing this, I was a high school teacher, and I knew that the school system cared about kids, but for a long time I didn't know the Rock Center for Youth Development existed, and that they really cared too, and that there's people even in random businesses and nonprofits that care about kids, even if it's not part of their mission. Like, for some reason, I just did not even, it wasn't even on my radar.
Nope.
So learning about that and being connected with people in different ways through a different language than just your, how's the weather and what do you do for a living, but really like, who are you as a person, has been really impactful, I think, in helping us to solve some of the bigger problems in our community and to elevate our strengths that we already have, which is what you mentioned with the workplace stuff. So my question is, as a community member, what can a community member do to support well-being?
Well, there's quite a lot. I mean, obviously there's volunteer opportunities through the United Way. There's you can join the Midland Area Wellbeing Coalition. Memberships are a variety of memberships, but one is free, and you can find out what's going on. It's a commercial. Anyway, besides that, the Midland Community Foundation, again, another phenomenal source. And all you have to do is contact them, and they have all kinds of services and programs that you can get engaged in and volunteer. I guess one piece I would say is that an important piece in volunteering would say, think about what's important to you. And then you can find something that you can do in the community to volunteer, and that helps you as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation, and there's more likelihood that you're going to stay around and continue to engage if it's something that's important to you. And I guess maybe the one source that we're so fortunate, is a source called Max Loves Midland, which is a phenomenal, MaxLovesMidland.gov, but it's a phenomenal resource with a list of all kinds of activities going on. If you go to that page and you just click on Connect, you can find all kinds of things in a variety of areas, whether it's education or health or arts or whatever it may be, and ways to get involved in things that are going on in the community where you can make a direct contact and really make a difference.
Yeah, and a community calendar where there's all sorts of different ways to engage. I love that. And speaking of Max Loves Midland, reminds me too, a lot of this work is all grounded under our community's vision. In 2014, there were a group of just a wide variety of people from a wide variety of sectors that came together to say, what do we want the Midland community to be about? And not just the city, what do we want the county to be about? And the vision statement that they developed is something that we work toward every day in the work that we do in the coalition. So we want to be an inclusive community. We want to be together, forward, and bold in the work that we do. And we want to be an exceptional place where everyone thrives. So that vision statement to me is the North Star, if you will, of the work that we're doing. And the work that we're doing as individuals every day and how we show up with our families, the work that we do if we are in a workplace, that we do with the colleagues around us, and really how we take care of ourselves, right? That we matter just as much as other people matter too, right? We all matter in this world.
And I want to add that helping out your community, because some people, you talk to them about helping out and they don't like big groups, or they don't want to have like a commitment, or feel like if they can't do it, they're this bad person. So sometimes, again, going back to the small things, sometimes you can just help your neighbor that may be elderly or just had surgery. get their trash can back up to their garage, right?
Absolutely.
Or picking up trash in your neighborhood.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be something that's connected to a larger thing, so to speak, even though it is, right? So sometimes doing those small things can also be community building, right? So I just want to tell those people that are introverts or maybe afraid of joining something right now, you can still do something for your community, even right in your small little area, or just even within your community, your neighborhood or your street, right? So think about those things as well, right?
You're volunteering. I
Yeah,
mean, you're
yeah.
volunteering.
Right.
It's just a
Yeah.
different way of volunteering.
Different way.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
And it doesn't have to be labeled, meaning it doesn't have to
Right.
be connected to an organization
Right.
necessarily. It's just from the kindness of your heart, you
Yes.
want to share that with others.
Yeah.
And
You may
that's-
not get a T-shirt, but
Right.
but
but you're
making a
still
difference.
going to
You're
make
making
a
a difference.
difference.
Yeah.
Making a
Difference.
difference.
That's
Yes,
without
yes.
question.
Well, and last question for you, Gary, here is around this idea of everyone. So when we think about that, that to me brings to mind equity. So what are some of the efforts that we're taking with the coalition to reach a broader audience?
Well, one of the things that we're doing is getting engaged in community events, community activities, a variety of them, finding out what's going on and then being there and exposing people to what we provide as well. And I think it's important that we do it across, again, a variety of sectors, target populations. And for some examples, we've been at the Senior Expo at Midland Mall. So as you can imagine, a lot of our elder citizens, our seniors, are there, and we met with them and told them about what we provide, what resources are there. So we've hit that audience. At the same time, we also work with senior services, and we communicate through them as well in their newsletter. So we're getting to some of them in that way. Community Connect is an annual event. It's sponsored by the United Way, and it's wonderful. Again, a lot of coalitions get together. This year it was in a church, Trinity Lutheran, and it was a lot of folks, at least 40, 50 organizations that are there. And again, a lot of that's the Ellis population, but it's other folks as well. We were at the Loons baseball game, different audience, but again, just an audience that may not see us in other venues or other ways, but out there and promoting what we do at that venue. Library programs. Grace Adele Memorial Library had a summer reading challenge, and lots and lots of people. I think they had close to 1,000. Again, families, but coming from all aspects of society in life. And we were there again explaining what we do and providing information and resources and references. And from these folks, we end up picking up members and folks that get engaged with us at some time. And a couple others, I think, the Dow Championship, the ladies golf outing, where we had a tent. We were in a tent for veterans. It was a veterans tent specifically, and we, again, promoted our services to the veterans. Once again, a little target audience that may not see us or know about what we have to offer. And then I'll mention one more, lastly, the Walk for Hope, and Hope Starts Here, two activities in the community that are sponsored by the Suicide Resource and Recovery Network. And again, so it's a chance for us to be there to talk to and share our services and programs to that audience. So we get out to a variety of different places, and that's on purpose, again, to try and expose as many people as we can to what we can offer to help them improve well-being.
Yeah. And we're involved in a lot of community partnerships as well. So we are on the Great Lakes Bay Suicide Resource, or the Suicide Prevention Council. That's what it is, Suicide Prevention Council. So we work, and that's a regional. So we work with people from Saginaw and Bay County around prevention.
Yes.
And how can we address different populations that may be struggling more than others. We're also part of the Max Loves Midland Navigation Team, which is a quarterly meeting that brings together people from all over the community that then learn about a particular topic. The one we just had in the last quarter was around childcare. And so that happens every quarter, addressing different topics that are important to people in our community.
Cultural Awareness Coalition.
The Cultural Awareness
Awareness, right.
Coalition, yep, we do a lot of work with that, particularly with the Neighboring Week
Yes,
group, because that is, we're about that, right?
Yeah.
Creating connections, meaningful connections for people throughout our community. And in our community success panel, so looking at some of those broader economic, structural challenges that our community faces and how we can move together forward bold, right?
Yeah.
And becoming this place where everyone can thrive. And we know it's a journey, and we know that journey is going to have ups and downs, but how do we support each other through it?
Sure.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. So I think we covered it. We've covered what we do at the individual level. We've covered what we do with workplaces. We've covered what we do in the community. What we want to do now is encourage you to join the coalition. As Gary mentioned, we do have a free membership level. We also have various other membership levels, depending on the level you'd like to be involved. And if you don't want to be involved at the coalition, that's fine. Do well-being in a way that works for you throughout your community, with your family, with your friends, with your workplace, with yourself, with you being a patron at workplaces. Let's become this community where everyone has an opportunity to thrive. If you are interested in learning more about the work that we do, you can go to our website, which is MidlandAreaWellbeing.org. And also know that while we're located in Midland, that's not a strict boundary. We do regional work, we do work even beyond that. We have someone in our coalition that's from the UK because she took an online course that we had and she's interested in the work and joined from there. So, and we have some very engaged people actually that don't live in Midland, but they care, and we do too. So we're not bound by geography, we're bound together by the webs of connection that we create with other people. And so we hope that you will learn more, reach out to us. We love people and we would love to have a conversation with you. Thanks for watching today.